Well, what is up? Hope you are good. Hope you are doing well today on this nice Friday afternoon. Decided to pop into the community flock and pop online here and just kind of let you into a little bit of the process and a little bit of just kind of what goes on here behind the scenes in the life of a creative, in the life of an artist. And so if you can hear me, if all is well, let me know. If it looks good, if you can hear things, I'm going to send a little thing out to my community and to my people, letting them know that I am alive, so we can hang out and have a good time. But yeah, normally Friday mornings I'm not able to be in the office and in the studio. I'm usually hanging out with my kids and doing that thing and working from home when I can. But was able to come into the studio today and decided why not just hop in and throw on a camera and record what I normally do behind closed doors in regards to like the business side of Illumination Project and the creative side, and begin to like share that with you. And so let me just make sure I am good, and if you can hear me okay, let me know. In fact, what I'm gonna do to check that is I'm gonna switch cameras here. By the way, I also have the new lens, the new angle. Really just using my phone here as a let me just, because we were having some sound issues yesterday, so I want to make sure that they're fine today. Let me. Sounds like it's still maybe. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Great. So you can hear me, which is good. But yeah, so I wanted to just kind of look at today and share what it looks like for a Christian creative, for a Christian artist, a content creator, someone who's actively trying to share their message, what it looks like for them to research, to develop ideas, to think through hooks, and just share some of that stuff that you just don't learn in music school or in seminary, or when you're like studying like how to like be a good pastor or a good worship leader. Like what I went to school for, I didn't learn this. And so my hope is that taking a second and just pulling the curtain open per se will allow you to be able to kind of see how I think about my content and my songs, even in my creative process. And so if you're watching along and you're having a good old time with us and you want to participate and have a question for me, I want to answer that. So please do share those with me. I'll have the chat open and up and able to answer any questions. I also will pull up my school community here. And for those that don't know, for those that are even maybe interested, we launched something recently that I will share. But let me pop up here, make sure I have everything here. But yeah, perfect. Nice. Cool. Yeah. So my hope in today is just to pop in here and talk about what's working and what's not. But first, before I do that, I do want to give a couple updates on things that are going on in Illumination Project, in my life, and maybe your life. And first things first, I don't know how everybody feels about this, and I don't know where everybody stands, but Christmas music is here, guys. Christmas music is here, and if you don't know, we have a Christmas record that we released, and we genuinely love it. I love getting a chance to sing those songs live with churches, and I love getting a chance to hear people's thoughts on our renditions of just some like classic tunes and classic bits of music. But along with that, I wanted to give you guys a gift and kind of promote a gift that we just launched, and that is a free course that we did that I made up of just 5 practices of a Christian creative. And what this is kind of kind of pull back and look at what it looks like to be a faithful Christian creator, making things, but also focusing and lifting our gaze to our King and stewarding our gifting well. And so I kind of took over the course of my life as a Christian creative and as someone who served in the church vocationally in a creative capacity, but then outside the church vocationally in creative capacity, and kind of built a creative business and has kind of run that race and kind of looked at that and dealt with the unique struggles of that and the process of saying, okay, where's my identity found? Is it found in what I make and what I do and what I accomplish, or is it found in Christ? And is what I'm making actually reflecting that and just the nuances and the struggles and these are some of the practices that I've kind of put in place in my life that have helped me work through those and continue to work through those, really. And so I wanted to make that available free to all Christian creators. And so what I did is I put that inside of a community as well. So not only will you get access to the course itself, but you'll get access to a community of other Christian creatives that are actively making things, actively pursuing their goals, but also wanting to hold each other accountable as far as authority of Scripture over our work and pursuit of Christ and all that we do. So if that sounds like it would make sense for you, all you have to do is click the link below to get that for free. And if you're really invested in your creativity, I want to point you to our residency, because we just launched something called the Creator Games, which is for any serious Christian creator. You can compete to win 4 hours of work from me on your creative project. Whatever you're doing, I will work on it. I will give 4 hours of dedicated mind space, work, effort to making your creative goals and progress and projects move forward. But in order to do that, you have to win, and the way you win is by helping other creatives in this community. So all you have to do is sign up in our residency program, go through that, and you can compete to win literally this month. So I want to encourage you. It's the Founders Round. Along with this comes like weekly Zoom meetings with me, one-on-one mentorship anytime you need it, monthly workshops if you do decide to keep playing. And then I also have some creator toolkits and resources that will go along with kind of what we're going to do today. Like, this is the behind the scenes of the life of a creator. And so these are the tools that I use currently to work on my creative business and think through how I can best spread my message and what the Lord's kind of put on my heart and allowed me and given me the tools and the gifts to execute. How do I do that? And then how do I do that faithfully then as a Christian as well? And that's where the community bit kind of comes into it. So I just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention here as my computer kind of melts down for a second. I want to try to see what the issues are. And if there's anything in chat, let me know. And I will quickly try to pull up my notes here because I think my computer might be freezing, which would not be good. This seems to be an overwhelming issue for me, so I might need to remedy that pretty quickly. So before we jump into the creator breakdowns, I do want to kind of talk about like what a creator breakdown is and like why I do them. So a creator breakdown is essentially a chance where I get to take other successful creators, other creators that are actively pursuing their goals and seem to be succeeding at it because maybe their subscriber growth is working, or maybe they're selling a lot of this product. Like, what are they doing that seems to be working, and how can I begin to apply that to what I'm doing, right? Like, we do this in all of life. This is how we learn things. This is literally the process of education. Just education is a systemized way of learning, or like, hey, like, here's a quicker, more like concise, synthesized way of learning. Like, that might be why you go to school. But the way we learn something is we look at something, we observe, we make hypotheses, and then we apply it to what we're doing, and then we execute, right? And so I kind of take this and I apply it to my content that I make, and then I try to figure out the best way that I can package it that's authentic to who I am and the message that I'm trying to put out into this world. And so the way I do that is I take different creators and I break them down, and I begin to ask myself kind of 3 questions. Like, what are they doing? How are they keeping people watching? And then what's kind of the main value that people get out of watching or participating or following along with what people are doing? And so let me pop over here. Man, my computer is locked, I think. Let me see. Why are you like this computer? Let me pull this down here. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Maybe that's going to help a little bit. Yeah, let me know if all is well on your end. That way I know and can make sure I'm executing properly and it's all firing well. All right. I think we have it going, and it seems to be working, which is good. So let me just get all of my things situated and localized. And then we'll jump back into the creator breakdown and kind of like why I do that. So, yeah, there we go. All right, now I got my switcher, and we're all ready to go, and we're set to do what we need to do. Okay, so like I said, these creator breakdowns. The reason I do them is because I think it's important to take a step back and begin to make a question about somebody else's content, what they're making, what's working well, and then how you can apply it to what you're doing, right? And I do this on a regular basis, and in fact, I try to do it weekly. I try to check in weekly with all of the content that I seem to have been making that's working, and so I do it in my own work and creative process first, and then I begin to look outside as a way of growth, right? Because I don't want to only make things that are working outside. I want to see what I'm making, right? And see how I can begin to apply what others are doing, and then bring it in-house to the things that I'm doing. So when I take a look at these creators and these people, not all of them are Christians, and not all of them are operating necessarily even in my same niche or in my same craft, but they're creators that I think are doing something well that I like, that have maybe caught my interest, and I want to say, hey, what are they doing, and how can I apply it to what I'm doing? And so when I do this, I usually break it down into 3 things that I'm looking for, right? Like, what's the thing that intrigued me? What's the thing that kept me? And then what is the thing that then I provided, like, what made me go, I really enjoyed that, and I'm going to look into what they're doing. And when in traditional like marketing circles, this is called hook, retain, reward, right? Like if you're a digital marketer or you've had any experience in just marketing context, you know that this is a hook is something that you get somebody's attention with. A reward is something that you or retain rather. Retain is what you keep them with, what begins to keep their attention, and then reward, what is the value that they get from the thing that they've digested or watched or anything like that, right? So this hook, retain, reward. These are the three kind of things that you look for when you're making content, but also the things that you look for when you're kind of looking at other people's content. So those are the things that I look for when I'm looking at the creator breakdowns and trying to say, okay, what am I going to do that will work well in this context, and then apply it to my own context. And what is up, Don? I hope you are well, and hope you are just having a good time. Don is a resident and just really pumped to be competing in the creator games, I think, the founder round. She is already engaged and growing in the leaderboard. But so what I want to do today is kind of take a second, look at different creators, ask those questions, and begin to think through what they're doing well and how can I apply it. And so I figured, why not stream this process and begin to share what's working and what's working well. And so the creator I'm going to look at today is one that I've wanted to look at for a while, and even share the process because there's a couple different reasons, and I'll go into it. So her name is Kelsey Rodriguez. She is an artist, and I'm sharing the wrong screen here. Why is it doing that? Let me figure out why the screen is showing that display. These are my notes. There we go. So Kelsey Rodriguez, this is Kelsey. Kelsey Rodriguez is a visual artist, okay? So she does painting. She also sells prints, but also she's in the education space. She's also just like a traditional YouTuber. So she did the vlogging thing, that sort of thing. And we can talk about that. And I don't think it worked great for her, in the sense that, like, I just think, let me do this actually. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So Kelsey Rodriguez, she is a visual artist, has done prints and that sort of thing. And one of the main reasons I wanted to look at her is because one, she has a similar audience as me, right? Like, I'm a Christian creator. She's not a Christian that I know of, but she is a creator, and she is talking to other creatives as well. She also, I think it would be beneficial for like the artists in my community. So it's something that I wanted to learn. Like, it's going to further my education and how somebody else packages their content. That's like a hard medium to necessarily communicate in video. And the reason I say that is because like sometimes like music and visual arts and like these creative things that a lot of creators like to focus on and would identify as their craft, they can be hard to necessarily monetize, and we can kind of get into that. But I think Kelsey's done a really good job of like packaging her content in a way that is made it digestible for those that want to watch it, and enjoyable and entertaining, but also, and especially since she's an educator, on the education front as well. So one of the things I wanted to point out is about that productization bit. So I mentioned that things like art and prints and like lower, maybe like things that you're not necessarily selling for like hundreds and thousands of dollars, those are the things that might be a little harder to monetize. And so one of the things that I think Kelsey Rodriguez is doing right now that I think is interesting, that I think artists can learn from, visual artists as well as musicians, or really any creator, and how to apply it to their current business, is what I think she's about to do is called a book funnel. And the reason I think this is because she just released a video called Building an Art Business in 2025. I wrote a book for you, which I think if you're an artist and you want to check out that book, it might be a good book worth checking out. But the reason I think she's putting this video out is I think she's going to do what is called a book funnel, or really what a lot of people, creators and digital educators do, is they'll write a book and can kind of concise all of their ideas into a physical hard copy, because it's good and useful to be like physical, write notes, all that sort of thing. And then they will give this away for free. This is what's called like a loss leader in digital marketing terms, right? So like one of the things I like to do is take traditional marketing concepts that you might get in the quote unquote real world, and then apply them to your creative work and your creative business, so that you can sustain yourself in your ministry and sustain yourself in your work and in your message. And so this is a concept called a loss leader, right? And so you give away something in hopes that you generate a customer long term. And the reason this is important is because if you're running a traditional business, and if you're looking at reading any business books, acquiring a customer is more expensive than keeping them generally, or acquiring or getting a repurchase or a purchase for the second time. And this makes sense, right? Like if we think about it logically, like if we think about how we interact with things, like we're very cautious when we buy something for the first time, because we're not sure if we trust them or not. We're not sure if we're going to get what we desire, or what they necessarily what they are promising when they do it. And so I think when you go from it from that, when you understand like from a consumer standpoint, is like, oh, you need to acquire some sort of trust before they're willing to actually spend money with you, then you do what is called a loss leader in this digital space, right? You give away something for free, fulfill a promise, in hopes that like, hey, like you can buy something or get something over here in my shop or something like that, right? So like the way you can see this in traditional spaces is if you look at like Target. Anytime they do a big order, any of the Black Friday stuff, all of that was to get you in store, right? Like so, for example, we were looking for something for my family for Christmas, and it was only available Target pickup in store. Which meant I had to go inside the store and get that, so that I could get it at the discounted crazy rate that they had it. And I think this is important to think about, because as you get somebody into your world, it allows you to share more of your story, and allows you to acquaint them more to what you're actually trying to do. Because I think in a world where everybody's selling something, or everybody has a brand, or like that kind of thing, you need to kind of educate somebody on like your intention with them. And as a Christian creative, hopefully your intention is good, and that you just want to like share more about what you're working and how it helps them cultivate a life dedicated to Jesus, right? And what we make does that. So hopefully you're sharing more about that. And how you can continue to make more of it by them supporting you. So that I just wanted to kind of share that little tidbit. That's something that she's doing right now that I thought was interesting, and I thought might be helpful for those of you that are trying to think through that process. But this is about content, and this is about breaking down and kind of pulling behind the curtain and understanding a creator breakdown and how I do it and what I do. And so what I do is I sit here and I look at what she's doing. And so I use a couple different tools to do this when I'm looking at content, and when I'm looking at kind of people's profiles. Is I use a free resource called ViewStats, and I use the free version of vidIQ. I've used the paid version of vidIQ in the past. I don't think it's necessarily overpriced. I think it's actually a great tool. I just wasn't using it the way I needed to, so I just stopped paying for it. And ViewStats is actually a pretty new thing. In fact, it is something that is, I think it was launched by Mr. Beast. I think Mr. Beast actually had his hand in ViewStats and making it. Apparently my internet is running terribly slow, or it's my computer. But ViewStats is a page where I can literally take somebody's page and see everything that I think is working right now, and kind of take that and analyze that, and then use that information in my creator breakdown to apply to what I'm making, right? So like immediately, again, this is 100% free, which is wild. I can get in, I can see her subscribers and even some growth and some peaks. And so when you're looking at a graph like this, right, like, and you see a peak, you want to say, okay, what made her peak, and what made the peak? Obviously, it was she got a little bit more active again, right? So like she was kind of going along here on some past viewership, and it looks like she published. Audience spiked again, came back, published, audience spiked again. And I think this here is something that we should really pay attention to as creators, because when we look at these graphs and these sorts of things, and we see that a spike happens when you publish and another spike happens when you publish, but it kind of does this kind of movement, that's literally what is monumental growth. Like that's momentum happening, and you growing off of that momentum because of consistency. And listen, I can be the first one to tell you that I have not done this right, and I have not done this well. I have oftentimes been inconsistent and have not tracked well with publishing. It's something I have gotten a lot better on and have built kind of systems around, and I'm sharing that with my flock community as I kind of build that out. I'm sharing those systems with them because you have to continually create in order to gain that momentum. And so this is a case in point right here is when we see this growth. And so coming over here and kind of going back to the screen share is, sorry, my computer is freezing just a little, but let me know, hey Dawn, if it's or Dawn, why it throws me off, Jenny, but let me know if the audio is good out there, or if not. I'm getting text, which might be why my camera isn't working. There we go. We'll do that with this camera for now. So yeah, when you're looking at this this chart and you're seeing, I just found out that about view stats from Mr. Beast. It's good to hear your feedback on the free version. Yeah, so I think the free version's great, and thank you also for telling me that the audio is good. Yeah, whenever you can, I use it pretty regularly, actually, now that I've been doing a few more content breakdowns and doing it on the regular. And Dawn, it's going to get me every single time. Can you also tell me if the video's good? If it seems choppy, because it seems choppy on my end, but again, I'm not sure. Let's jump back in here, and let me see if my camera is working, which it is. I just like this angle better for this. I think it feels more natural. So, yeah, so we're sitting here. We see this video, and so also when I see this, a better view too. So let's see the 3 months. Let's see if this is, yeah, so she was, interesting. So she just kind of dropped off for a bit, which happens, and then came back, which makes sense because the video she came back with was why slowing down made me a better artist. So that makes sense, right? Like she did something and then talked about it, which is a good note too. Like do the things, like make your content about the things that you're actually doing, not just about these trends. Like try to figure out what she's doing and like videos and formats that she's doing, and then apply that to the to things that you've been doing, right? Like and talk about it. I don't know if that makes sense. But speaking of formats and ways to kind of format what you're doing and what you're learning and format that into those things. When I see videos and when I look at this and I go down and I say, okay, artists, stop waiting for inspiration to find your blank, right? Like these are titles. And when you're thinking about YouTube, title and thumbnail is most of the work. All of the professionals say this. I've seen this be the case in my own content when I started really paying attention to thumbnails and really paying attention to titles is when those videos would actually work. And I would see growth in those videos. In fact, Mr. Beast published a whole resource. I shared it with my school community, with Flock. I shared it with them that he literally has people that invest thousands of dollars in just figuring out thumbnails. So if he's doing that, we should be paying attention. So when I do that, I want to look at videos, and ViewStats lets me do that. I want to look at each individual video. I want to think about what they're doing in their titles, in their thumbnails, that might be working. So here are her videos. Here are longs. I don't want to go by most recent, right? Like I want to go by most popular, because I want to say, okay, something about this was different. So let's see. In making notes here, how to find your art style fast in 3 easy steps. Over 30 ways you can make money as an artist in 2023. How to launch your art career in 2024. How I study without art school. Self-taught artist plan. Also, these are great artist titles. Great titles and like the problem that she's solving, right? She's saying exactly what you're going to get in this video. And this kind of brings me to kind of one way to think through formatting videos. Again, traditional marketing techniques in a creative world is what we're going to kind of focus on. So, traditional marketing technique when we think about making content. And I talked about hook, retain, reward a little earlier in the stream. You can go back and watch that, or I'm sure I'll clip it and put it up in the community, which link in bio about community. So I talked about hook, retain, reward already. I want to talk about kind of formatting as far as the retain piece, right? So like when you get them into the retain section, once you hook them with your thumbnail and with your title, how do you retain them? How do you continue tracking along and storytell in such a way that is helpful? And so I think marketers have a way of putting this in, but in the end, it really is storytelling. You're really taking somebody on a 3-act process. Casey Neistat, the YouTuber, he referred to this and uses this in his YouTube videos. And he said, this is literally how I grew my YouTube career, was by using an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 process, right? You introduce the story, you introduce the setting, you create a problem or a disruption in the story, and then you have the conclusion or the reward, the hook, retain, reward. But here's the thing. Look at what that is. That is a 1, 2, 3 process, right? There's directionality to that. And a way to think about this in when it regards to making content and when it comes to doing that sort of thing is you can think of it as lists, steps, and stories. This is how I've been thinking about it lately, and it's been super helpful as I've been putting together more and more content for other people as well as myself, is lists, steps, and stories. As you look at things, you can break it down in that, and that helps you format better, it helps you communicate better, and it helps you actually retain somebody's attention because they're tracking with what you're doing, right? So like first thing, lists. You begin to, these are sequential in a way, but not necessarily contingent on one another, right? So like I can say, I did A, I did B, and I did C things today, and all of those, accomplished this goal. So like if I'm talking about producing a song, when I'm producing a song, I seed it first, and I also then write it out and I produce it and all that sort of thing. So I actually make the song itself. Then once I make it, in fact, what I'm doing right now as I give this example is I'm doing the other thing, which is the steps. So a list would be, there's 3 components in this thing, 1, 2, and 3, right? When I was talking to my son about the Trinity, I used a list. I talked to Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but that's a list. Steps are contingent on one another and have to be continuous, right? Like first I did this, then I did this, then I did this. And then stories are literally the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, right? You have this storyline that's going through. And these 3 categories, literally you can clump all of content into this, and it'll help you a ton as you think through it. So let's look at that. Let's see if that's true as we look at Kelsey Rodriguez's channel, and as we break down her creator breakdown here. So we're going to think through lists, we're going to think through steps, and we're going to think through stories. So how to find your art fast in 3 easy steps. So these, when I click through this video, it's going to be contingent 1, 2, 3. Over 30 ways you can make money as an artist in 2023. That's 30. That's a step. It's a number. She's going to go through 30 of them. It's a list. Sorry, not contingent on it. How to launch your art career seriously in 2024. Seriously. Story. She's going to tell you a story of something she did, right? And what she's going to do. And how I study for art without school, self-taught artist plan. Another story, but then she's also going to loop in a step and a process. And here's the thing. If you can do that, if you can take multiple things, if you can say, okay, I'm going to do a story, but I'm going to build in a list of things, then that's going to make it more valuable and even more able to be processed so that people can understand what you're doing. But you're probably now asking, like, TJ, what does this have to do with being a Christian creator? And, like, especially, like, I don't want to just think about all these analytics and all these things. Like, that's gross. I'm an artist. Here's the thing. If you're an artist, you have to care about this, because this is how you communicate with somebody. If you're trying to tell them something, if you're trying to share a message, if you're trying to get your word out, or if you're trying to share what the Lord has done in your work and you want people to be impacted by this, like, you have to look at what works. And we can't do that if we don't take a step back and look at it with a critical eye and actually build in space. So build in space in your calendar to do this. And I talk about that in our community and kind of help you fix those steps. But let's go back to that. So that's the list, steps, and stories, idea, and process, right? But let's look at format, and let's think through format and different types of videos that you can do and types of content. Because that, I talked about packaging and, like, different ways to package the content, but let's think through, like, well, what about ideas? Like, I have a hard time coming up with the title, and, like, a hard time coming up with the very first idea of the video. So I kind of noticed a couple things as I was looking through hers and other creators' channels. I've kind of noticed a couple different formats that really work well. And I'll break this down in a different video, but I wanted to kind of cover the 2 big ones that she does, and that's the educational, and that's the talking and the voiceover. And I think these both work well in creator spaces because it lends itself naturally to our space. That's why you find a lot of educational creators in creative circles. It's not necessarily because, like, that's all we can do. It's because creative fields naturally don't have systemized learning. And so this is a new way of learning and a new way of teaching. And so a lot of educational creators and people that like teaching, like myself, have lent itself to this kind of thing. So when you're doing this and when you're thinking about packaging and you're an educational creator, or really any creator, you want to answer questions and you want to answer and solve problems. So if you look at this, how to blank, top blank to blank, why I don't blank when blank. Right? Or just general business, like how I did this, right? And so the reason I think this is important is because this will help us think through maybe possible questions or possible problems that we could help our audience and our people solve, right? So let's begin to kind of think through this and our understanding of those formats in our context, okay? So let's go with that, the how-to. So in an educational context, and if you're doing, like, educational content, this is really easy to think through. Like, how do you actually do that thing? Like, what's the steps? Like, how to produce a song, how to properly frame your art piece for gallery use, if you want to get really specific, right? And the more specific you get, the more value you can actually provide your watcher, your entertainer, your avatar, whatever you want to call them. I just call them a person because they're people watching, and you should care about people. But so you kind of think through that, how to do this, or top blank to blank. So a way we could format this in the educational space is top 3 ways I approach songwriting. Like, that would be a good title, and a good video, like that, and a good way to teach somebody how to approach songwriting. And then you list those, and then you talk about those, right? And that's an easy package and an easy way and a list, step, or story to take that content and then spread your message. But what about, like, if you're a musician and you're not trying to necessarily do education content, how can you apply this to maybe just like short form content? Like, what if I want to take this and I want to just promote a song? So one of the things that I've realized when it comes to art, and when it comes to, for me, music, is it does something, and it does solve a problem, right? Like, it ministers to my soul in a certain way, or it redirects my eyes, or it does something to me. And so when I'm trying to think through ways I can share about this song, I literally think through how I would share it with my friend. It's like, hey man, like, I made this for you in this way. Well, why did I make it? Well, I made it because you were going through this thing. Hey, if you're going through this thing, I think you would really enjoy this song. And I'm sure we've seen that video. That falls into this category. So as you're trying to think through, what am I going to post? Like, stop thinking through your content in a way that is selfish and in a way that is like trying to think through what you're going to get out of it. But think about, like, what's the message that you're trying to share? Like, why are you here right now? Why did you make that thing? So for me today, I'm here because I want to help other Christian creatives think through their work strategically so they can spread their message, so they can point other people to Jesus, the ultimate creator. That's why I do what I do. That's why I'm showing up on a live, and I'm kind of like working through these processes and letting you know how I think through my content, is because I want you to do that too, and I want you to be equipped to do it. In fact, that's why I started Flock, and why we do what we do there, and why I'm giving away 4 hours of my work so that I can help you, is so that we can all work together to see more people creating things for the creator and curating a culture for the kingdom. And I want to do more of that, so I'm showing up here to help you. And I think if we begin to think about it like that, instead of just making silly videos on the internet, like, we can begin to make things that are helpful and proven strategically, as we've seen today. But I think I've hit that topic a little hard. But let's move over to the second format, and that is the talking over content. And we've seen this on short form and on long form when we look at the different types of videos and things that she is making. So she does this thing. Let me see if I can find a recent one. She's really gotten into the business content, which makes sense. If she's going to launch something, she's going to do some promo before it. Right here. Finding balance in art and work, how I found my style, like these sorts of things. She does these like things where she's literally doing the whole painting, and then she's talking over it and kind of sharing what she's doing over the painting, which I think can be really helpful to those that are doing it. And so I want to kind of talk through some ideas and brainstorm some ideas with you about ways that you can do this and ways that you can kind of take advantage of this. And let me know if this is helpful for you by dropping a comment below so that I know how I can best serve you as a Christian creative, because again, that's my goal. That is why I started Flock. That is why I did everything. And if you want to know more about that, you can check out Flock, and you can check out all the things that we're doing over there, because like I said, giving away 4 hours worth of work to anybody that wins the Creator Games Founder Round. Literally for it's wild, and we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hanging out with everybody. But either way, let me know what you think about this. So when we're thinking about writing like content that we are doing voiceover content, like that's the category we're talking about, right? Is voiceover. Here's what I appreciate about what Kelsey does, and what seems to be working well for her is she's showing her process in a unique way, while also providing a deeper value and like kind of walking you through it, right? So like she's showing you what she's doing while she's talking about it. So while she's giving you those list, steps, and stories, she's showing you actively like how she's doing the paint strokes, how she's shading this thing, how she's doing this thing. And I think this is really helpful for two ways. One, it gives the person, especially if you're in the education space, like it gives them both at once, But even on the like retain thing, it gives you something to digest at the same time. Like, I don't know if you're like me, but like I keep videos on while I do other things, right? So if I'm doing dishes and I'm trying to learn about a topic, having her painting in the background is kind of fine and like enjoyable to like do dishes and be listening to her talk about like a business concept and then look up and see a painting progressing. And then it also shows me like the progression and how far along until it's done, right? I know where I'm at in the video based on how far along she is in the painting. I think that's super helpful and really creative. So some ways that I think you can use this in your own creative work is, for me, one way I'm going to be using it is I write devotionals and I make those available to my community. So I'm going to start taking some of those concepts, or as I'm writing those devotionals, I'm going to lay out my thoughts over music and some of the songs that I'm making. And this is going to be super fun because I like to pair those two worlds anyways. And so I'm going to be taking different music beds of things that I'm working on, and I'm going to overlay that on some content as I kind of think through some of the devos that I'm preparing for our community. Because again, I'm trying to help artists grow in craft and character, not just craft, not just the tactics, but the character too. So as we work on that, I'm going to kind of overlay the two worlds. And again, you're providing two things that are like seemingly opposite, but like similar goal, which I really appreciate of her content. And I think if you do something like that, I think it would be really helpful in what you're doing. But with that said, I'm down to take any questions. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I am down to just hang out for a little bit longer, and then I've got to get to doing a couple different things. But just wanted to kind of let you in on the creator breakdown and kind of what I'm doing to take a deeper look at what I'm making and how it better can make people aware of the message that I feel like the Lord's kind of put on my heart and what I'm doing and helping Christian creators. And I think the same should be for you, right? Like as you think about what you're making and what you're doing, you should be thinking critically about how you can help others learn about that too. And that's just marketing. It doesn't have to be a sleazy, like slimy, like gross thing that I feel like sometimes as artists, and especially Christian artists, like we somehow get crossed in our brain about that. Like we're literally just telling people about something. You just have to make the something that you're telling them about worth it, right? So hopefully I did that with you today and you enjoyed it. And if you did, I want you to subscribe. I want you to tell somebody else about Flock. I want you to tell somebody else about what we're doing here over on this little corner of the internet within Illumination Project and what I'm making. But if you don't have any questions, I'm excited and happy. So tell somebody about what we're doing, and I will see you in the next video. And yeah, see you next time. Have you ever felt like your creativity and your spiritual walk could work a little bit better together? Or like the things that you made and put out into the world, like you could just have somebody to kind of talk that through, especially somebody that was like a Christian in your corner and like for your good and the good of the kingdom? Me too. In fact, I felt that way for a long time as a indie artist and somebody who really just wanted to put a message out there and make things that impacted people. I had a lot of questions and a lot of doubts, and I didn't have a way to like work that out with anybody. And so as I learned how to market and learned how to run a creative business, and then as I got jobs in the church as a creative and the dynamics that come with working in the church in the creative fields, like I knew I just needed some help. And then I began to learn more and more about what it meant to be a Christian creative. And I began to find solutions with friends and other creatives and other things that I was reading. And I just thought, man, it would be great to have a place where a bunch of creatives could just like run their race faithfully together. And then I heard about run clubs, and I'm not much of a runner, but I know what a run club is. And so I said, hey, why not start a run club for Christian creatives? So I've decided to do that. And so I want to invite you. I want to invite you to run your race faithfully. You see, I've been a worship leader and a creative for years, but I kept asking myself, how can I make the most of the gifts God gave me? How do I ensure that my creativity will align with my faith and make a lasting impact? And so I decided to create Run Club. It's not just a space to make art or share links or spam, but rather this is a place where Christian creatives are going to gather together to run faithfully as Christian creators that are putting things out into the world, that are making content, that are writing songs, that are painting paintings, that are booking shows to book shows, that are
putting things out into this world to curate a culture for the kingdom and want people alongside them running faithfully together. And because I see many creatives struggle with burnout and struggle feeling disconnected from their calling and from their gifts. And I've seen that a lot of them have lack of structure and don't know how to balance their creative work and faith and projects and work in isolation and don't have accountability and mentorship. And I just wanted to find a solution to that. And so I decided to start Run Club. And so I want to invite you, if you're a Christian creative that wants to faithfully run the race of being a Christian, curating a culture for the kingdom. If you want to be that kind of creative, I want to invite you to run faithfully. In fact, to kind of kick this off, I'm doing a one-on-one call with everybody that joins. Literally, all you have to do is join Run Club, and I'm going to help you warm up just like in any other Run Club. What does it look like to run faithfully for you right now? Maybe you're 0 to 1, maybe you're 5 to 10. Wherever you are in your creative journey, I want to help figure out what that next step is. It's just something I love to do, is to brainstorm with creatives. So just let me do it. Like, grab a coffee with me and let me help you run your race faithfully. Because what if your creative work didn't just have to be a hobby? Like, your calling could have action behind it and you could actually do something. So join Flock. Begin to run your race faithfully as a creative. I'll see you inside.